Welcome to Beyond Referrals, the podcast exploring how trust, growth, and client relationships in financial services are evolving in the digital and AI age. I'm your host, Emily Armstrong. Let's dive in. You guys, this was such a good conversation. I'm so happy you're here hitting play on this. My guest today, Evan Kuterbach, we went all into all the things. He's someone who I knew back in the day when I worked at Oracle, had a fun tech cushy job, and we talked all about our entrepreneurial journeys since then. He has his own LinkedIn ghostwriting company now, and he is a LinkedIn expert. So he shared so much, and I think you're going to learn a ton from this. Practical takeaways that you can implement immediately to be more effective on LinkedIn. We talked about the importance of copywriting and how that really is everything, the foundation of everything sales and marketing and relationship building. We talked about how to master LinkedIn to make it your biggest lead generating asset, to post content that actually books calls on your calendar. And he knows the LinkedIn algorithm. So I think it's so helpful just learning how the algorithm works so that you can make sure that you're taking advantage of LinkedIn and not wasting your time on something that's not working. So you're going to learn on this episode why you're not winning with LinkedIn. And we talk about what type of content stands out and works the best. We talked about the importance of building a personal brand and his predictions for the future of LinkedIn being video centric. So this is an incredible episode. If you are engaging in any sort of LinkedIn activity, you will want to listen to this because you're going to be able to implement some of takeaways. So can't wait for you to listen to this one. Thanks for being here. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond Referrals. I am so excited for the guest that I have with me today. So today's guest is someone I've actually known for a long time. We worked together way back in our corporate tech days, and I followed what he has built since, and I wanted to have him on the show. Evan Kuterbach walked away from a cushy multiple six-figure sales tech job in 2022 with 0 clients and 0 runway, a brand new baby at home, and he said he didn't want a life that he needed a vacation from. So he left and built his own thing. Since then, he's grown his company, Gibson Voicebox, his LinkedIn ghostwriting studio. And he's written content that has directly supported over $5 million of sales across coaching, consulting, and client services. So he's a LinkedIn expert. He's taught me so much about LinkedIn, and I can't wait for what he's going to teach you today. His approach is different because before any of this, he spent 13 years in sales, so he knows what works and what doesn't. So everything he writes is built to create real conversations that lead to actual revenue and clients, not just visibility. And he lives in Denver with his wife, Stephanie, 4-year-old daughter, and another baby on the way in a couple of weeks at the time of this recording. He co-founded a pickleball e-commerce brand as well and manages a self-storage facility remotely from Colorado because apparently he doesn't do anything small. So Evan, welcome back to Beyond Referrals. And guys, I gotta be transparent because Evan and I already recorded this conversation, but I had a tech fail. So he's gracious enough to come back. So welcome back, Evan.
Super excited to be back. Honestly, this take is going to be the best. So the audience is hearing the absolute best conversation.
I agree. The last one was just our practice round. This is the real one we're going to bring to the world. Well, it's so awesome to have you here. And so let me tell the audience just kind of how we know each other and how we reconnected. So it's almost like it's a previous life at this point. Doesn't it feel that way?
Honestly, I mean, when I think about our time at Oracle, it literally does feel like, I mean, it's like at this point, almost like a generation, right? It's like,
we're old now.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way, but it was
Right.
a long time ago. But yeah, different lives for both of us. So you were in a comfortable job, kind of like in a dream role, this tech world with secure income, benefits. You had a new family that you're growing, and yet you walked away from that. So I would like to hear from your perspective. Why did you make that decision? And what has that journey been like for you since making that decision?
Yeah. So I just passed my 3-year mark in April of being like officially self-employed, no steady income, no health benefits. Like I'm on my wife's health benefits. And it's been, I mean, it has been an absolute like wild ride. I mean, when I first started, I was door dashing, right? Trying to like, just make a little extra money and, like it was just absolute chaos. But for me, the biggest reason why I decided to do that and why, when I was literally on paternity leave, kind of plotting my exit was my daughter being born. Like when my daughter was born, and I know you get this too, it's just like it puts everything in perspective and you start to realize the whole purpose of life is to like enjoy life. And whether you decide to have kids, you don't decide to have kids, like that doesn't matter. But for me, when we, had a child, I was like, this is the whole purpose of like what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to raise a family. And so it was honestly seeing her for the first time and then being like, you know what? I'm going to make some other excuse or some other reason why timing isn't great for this because arguably it was the worst timing, right? I have a newborn and I'm like about to do this. But I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. And my wife was very supportive and she's been supportive through this entire thing. Like she's my absolute rock with all of this. And she honestly encouraged me and pushed me to do it because she knew how unhappy I was in a 9 to 5 and in like a corporate job. And she was like, you know what? Like, again, we're going to make some excuse and say, you know what? When our kids are in high school or when our kids are in college, like then we'll do this, then we'll do that thing. But it's like, again, like what's the point of that? Because I'm never going to have more time in my life than I do right now. It's only going to get busier. And I know that. So I just had to rip off the Band-Aid. But yeah, it's been crazy.
Whenever I meet people like you, I just feel so inspired and like, yes, like let's teach this to more people because what you said is so true. The purpose of life is to enjoy life and having kids does really put that into perspective. Was that an unexpected thing for you when your daughter was born or did you kind of have that gut feeling before or did it like hit you all at once when she was born?
So my entire life, I knew I wanted to like be an entrepreneur. Like I always was like, in like little things that I was trying to do. I was in like, in high school, I was in like Future Business Leaders of America and like that kind of stuff, And so I always knew I wanted to like, do things, like do different things in business. My dad was in business and stuff, but he had kind of a traditional route. My mom was a teacher, so I didn't really have a playbook necessarily. But I always had that itch. And honestly, it got to the point, I think when my daughter was born, that it just boiled over. Like it just completely boiled over where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I just literally cannot do this. Like the money did not matter. And that's a crazy thing too, that I mean, I've seen many people, yourself, other people who have walked away from, really good pay, really good benefits. I mean, I had a job, and I'll just be like fully transparent, where I was going to be making that next year, like when I had this daughter, probably around like 200, 210 and great benefits, like pretty cushy job. And that's how bad I was mentally and how depressed I was and how it was affecting my relationship with my partner. And for me to be like, you know what, I'm going to leave this with a newborn and DoorDash. Like that is wild, right? And so
I love it.
so like I've always had that itch, and then once my daughter was born, I was like, yeah, no, this has to happen because I think to your point too, I am just so excited because my daughter has only known me as an entrepreneur. Like she's never known me with a normal job, and that's pretty incredible for like her whole life now, just like knowing me as this person as opposed to like this kind of corporate person, which again, if it works for you, great, but it did not work for me.
Again, previous life, that's like our previous life. Oh my God, I think it's so just important and inspiring for people like us to share our stories of like what it actually looked like to, because a lot of people have that feeling in their gut is what I've noticed, and they don't know what to do about it. They don't know how to act on it. And I just love your raw honesty about like, yeah, I left a literally like amazing cushy job to go DoorDash and with a newborn. And most people from the outside would be like, you're crazy. So how did you go from door dashing to doing what you're doing now to being an expert ghostwriter in LinkedIn and actually like getting your clients booked calls? Because I can't wait to dive into all of that. And we could literally do a whole episode just on our entrepreneurial journey as well. And we'll weave some of that in as we go too.
For sure.
But I think you're so inspiring and I appreciate you sharing your story so honestly.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. And you as well. So the way that it happened was while I was about to go on paternity leave, I was kind of plotting my exit. Like I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe I could do something else. Like maybe I could try to, I was in a sales role and I was like, maybe I could do some like freelance sales stuff or, I could do something. And so I was kind of plotting, but I was also like, maybe it won't happen. Again, I was just kind of plotting some stuff. I ended up getting referred to this copywriter whose name is Alex Catoni. She is like kind of like a big heavy hitter in the copywriting world. Copywriting, for those people listening, this has nothing to do with legal work. People always would ask me that. This is
The
words on a
fun kind of
page.
writing.
Yeah. The fun kind of writing. This is words on a page, marketing. Any type of words on a page for marketing is copywriting. And someone referred me to Alex Catoni and was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing copywriting? And I was like, I don't even know what copywriting is. And they were like, well, it's kind of a combination of marketing and sales, which I know you have a ton of background in. Maybe you should just take a look at it. So I dove headfirst into like YouTube videos and Reddit threads and all kinds of stuff about her and about like what copywriting was. And then I went to my wife and I was like, man, like this seems really interesting. It kind of seems like a good mix of everything I've been doing. Like I've been doing sales for 13 years. I've been in various marketing roles, weaving in marketing with my sales and vice versa. And I told my wife about this program that Alex had. It was like a mastermind and it was like $5,000, I think is what it was. But it was, and that was a big risk because like I was potentially going to be leaving and I'm about to spend
That's a lot of
$5,000.
door dashing.
Yeah. And so I told my wife, I said, I really want to do this. And so I took the course while on paternity leave. So I'm like middle of the night, like, baby on my chest. And I'm like watching videos and I'm like learning about how to write emails and how to write landing pages, all the stuff I'd never actually done before. And I quickly picked it up and I started to like chat with Alex and I started to chat with other people in the group. And I was like, I think I'm kind of good at this. And so I started to like feel really good about it. And one of the best things about her program was they actually paired you up with a company who was looking for basically new branding, new messaging. And so I was paired up with this brand, this SaaS company, because I had SaaS experience. And so my entire time with Alex's mastermind, I'm writing content for this brand. And at the end of the program, I can then present this whole portfolio of email, sales pages, everything to this business owner and say, hey, here's what I made for you. They get all this stuff for free, right? They don't pay me for it. But if I'm lucky and I'm good enough, they might hire me. And at the end of this program, 3 months after paternity leave, I got hired by them. And so he hired me, this business owner, and I'll say the name because it's on my website and everything. It's a brand called Smart Scout. They do it's a software for like Amazon resellers. And he hired me and gave me a shot and he paid me like $500 to write some emails for him. And I told my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, like I just got
I'm a copywriter.
I'm a copywriter. Like I just got my first payday for being a copywriter. And obviously this in no way was close to what I needed for income. But it gave me the kind of the evidence that this is possible. And so I started door dashing. And at that point, because of the extensive training in this mastermind program, I learned how to like build a portfolio. I learned how to reach out to clients and say, hey, here's, emails I wrote for you, or here's like what I would do different with your messaging. And I just started like DMing people on Instagram. I started DMing people on LinkedIn and just reaching out to, my network and stuff and saying, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm a copywriter now. This is like what I'm trying to build. And it wasn't until probably, I think maybe 3 or 4 months after I like left, paternity leave and then officially left my job that I finally got to like, I think like $2,000 a month. And I had like a couple clients at like $500 a month. And I was like, okay, like we're getting a little bit of a baseline now. We're starting to like figure this out. And so it just started to snowball that way. But it was, from the period of deciding that I was going to do this, leaving my job after paternity leave, and then door dashing all this stuff. It was just, it all happened kind of organically, but also in just like chaos too.
I love all of that. And so how has the growth journey looked now? You're 3 years into this and you're established now as a ghostwriter on LinkedIn with clients and you have success. What have you learned along the way about your craft of copywriting?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because copywriting truly is in like everything. Like copywriting is in,
I'm obsessed with it.
Like, even if you're not, because it's all about psychology, right? Marketing is all about psychology, but copywriting, like even people that are just writing like sales emails to prospects, right? Or to like investors, right? Like your audience, right? That is copywriting. You're thinking about the messaging and the psychology and everything. And that to me, let's go back a little bit. When I was a kid, I always thought I was going to be a sociologist because I like loved the way people thought. I
Mm.
thought about being a psychologist too because I love the way that people interacted with each other and understanding like how that kind of like the mind worked. And so I read a lot of books and podcasts, and I was like, maybe I'll go into psychology or sociology. But then I was like, maybe I won't make any money. So then I went into business. But it all kind of came full
Right.
circle when I heard about copywriting. So the trajectory and then
Mhm.
just thinking about like how I was going, it was like I was genuinely just enjoying learning about the mind, learning about how to like create messaging for people. And then it wasn't until really around this time last year, maybe a little bit before, that I heard more about ghostwriting. And I heard about like, okay, you can like write for people. And then at that point, I kind of started pivoting a little more of my copywriting focus. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do like blog posts for people or emails because in a lot of professions, you know, you have the thing that makes the money, right? Like
Mhm.
glass blowers, for anyone that's listening to glass blower, they do like ornaments because like ornaments will, you know, pay the bills. Sorry, one second. My
Do we
daughter
have a
just jumped
friend?
in. Yeah.
That's great.
Love it.
This is
Hey,
on
Scar.
brand, right?
Yeah. Hi, Scar. Hey, Is. It's okay.
I love
Sorry
it.
about
We
that.
welcome the interruptions here. It's on brand.
Yeah. My daughter has a friend over too, so her friend was coming in to say hi.
Oh,
So she was
cute.
very excited. But yeah, so going back a little bit, so as a copywriter, there was things that I did just to make money, right? Like blog posts. I hated writing blog posts, but everyone needed blog posts, so I was writing blog posts. This is also prior to like ChatGPT and Claude becoming really popular,
Oh,
and
you were doing the heavy
I was
lifting.
doing the heavy lifting, writing these blog posts and stuff. And
Yeah.
but it paid the bills.
Yep.
And so I was doing that, and I was really focused on doing that. But when I heard about ghostwriting, I said, man, like I've really been enjoying doing my own LinkedIn. I've been posting about my story. I've been posting about, you know, what I'm going through as a business owner and as a dad, raising kids while doing all of this. What if I could do the same thing for other people? And so it just, again, started kind of naturally moving in that direction. I learned more about other people doing LinkedIn ghostwriting, writing for people on LinkedIn. And I just started to keep growing and growing. And that's where I found my niche of, wow, I really enjoy this piece.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I was so intrigued when I saw your company not too long ago, like writing content on LinkedIn that actually leads to something.
Hmm.
Because and so going back to the copywriting thing too, I heard someone I follow say this and I thought it was such a good insight. She says, good copy saves bad design every time. And
Hmm.
I was like, I think that's
Hmm.
so true because people are always focused on, okay, what's my logo look like? Or what's the name of my firm? Or what's the name of my company? What's my website look like? But it's like the copy is actually what does everything for the
Yep.
customer and for the consumer. And yeah, I'm a copy nerd as well. I spend so much time with clients I'm working with just it's like the iceberg. Like what you see is the tip of the iceberg, but what's underneath that? There has to be something there to support anything you do. Literally
Yep.
any sale, like you're saying, sales email, blog post, LinkedIn post, whatever it is. So, yes, it's so, so, so important. So, talk to me about what's the key to taking copy and making that turn into something, whether that's a call on your calendar
Hmm.
or, a client, because I see a lot of people. And so my audience is mainly financial advisors, as you know, and I see a lot of activity there. Like advisors are posting more on LinkedIn, but I often wonder if they're getting traction from it. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. And then I can maybe share
Yeah.
some too.
Yeah, yeah. And also one more quick thing before I answer that, and because it sparked in my brain, what I loved the most about LinkedIn too was, and this could be true for Substack or anything else, but it's like it really is kind of like you have nothing to lean on with like design, so it's like it is the copy, like the copy
Mhm.
is the most important thing. And to your point, right? It's like good copy like will always trump, you know, where like design is lacking, and like you can't hide like a good story like with just like a bunch of fun designs. Like you need to have on LinkedIn like good copy. So that's what also intrigued me was I was like I can really hone my craft on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yeah, that I would say that is probably the biggest challenge for people that are either doing LinkedIn themselves or writing on like Substack or newsletters or something, but doing their own writing or even ghostwriters when they first get into it is like, how do I write things that then will turn into sales, turn into leads, turn into booked calls? And
Hmm.
what I always tell people is you have to like really, you have to, one, really know who you're speaking to. That is the
Hmm.
biggest thing. LinkedIn, especially, like we'll just chat about LinkedIn because that's what the whole convo is about. LinkedIn is is the algorithm is trained to grab people specific to like who you are trying to like to reach. And so your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn content should speak to one type of person. If you're like talking about like what you were baking, and then you were like talking about like some offer you have with this, and then you're talking about some other offer that you sell with this, like LinkedIn's like, I don't know what you do. I don't know what the purpose of your LinkedIn is for. And so I always tell people, as much as you want to have the urge to say like, for instance, I had a e-commerce pickleball brand. I have storage facilities. I have a ghostwriting company, and I also do like sales consulting. I could not have my LinkedIn like be all of those things. Now I can talk about those things, but I have to have a general reason for my existence of my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is specifically built to pull leads in for potential ghostwriting clients. That is the whole purpose of my LinkedIn. Now, do I talk about those other pieces and content buckets? 100%. But the purpose of my LinkedIn is to drive leads. So that even includes like who I'm accepting requests from, right? Who I'm sending requests to, because like I don't need like my entire, if people want to follow me, they can follow me, but like I'm not sending requests to other ghostwriters. Why would I do that? I don't need a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter is not going to be my client. If they want to follow me for content and for advice that I give on ghostwriting, great. But like that's not my audience that I'm trying to speak to, right? And so
Yeah.
that is what I tell people. If you want to actually convert from like content to leads to calls, is get really dialed in on like, what is the purpose of this LinkedIn? And then start building out from there.
That was in our last conversation and also in our like one-on-one catch-ups. Just I feel like that's been the biggest thing that I've learned from you is how the LinkedIn algorithm it works and how you have to know that to have any sort of success on LinkedIn. So I forget when this was. It was a couple of months ago, but I was pretty niched in financial services, but I had basically two main products or services that I had. Totally different buyers, different messages, but like you could even call them, they were so close. They were like this, but they were different. And I had to make the decision, okay, I need to niche even further down than even what I'm doing. And I've even had like multiple decision points like that where, okay, I need to niche further down. For example, I had like owners of firms and then advisors themselves. And those were the adjacent markets. But I was like, no, I'm going to go for the advisors themselves. And then I had advisors, okay, are they within these like enterprise companies like Northwestern Mutual, like where I came from, or
Mm-hmm.
these bigger companies, or are they independent RIAs? Because that's a totally different client, like
Mm-hmm.
totally different problems. And so I had to niche even further than just advisors. So, but every time I've done that, everything has followed. Everything has made sense. I've even seen the connections, the requests, so I just want to reiterate what you're saying. And you have to speak to one specific person. And that is really the only way LinkedIn will actually give you any sort of results.
Yeah,
That's been a
100.
huge takeaway that you've taught me.
100%. And I think that also goes into like, and people, there's some people in the, ghostwriting community that say like, certain things don't matter and et cetera. But I'm a firm believer that like profile optimization really matters. Like your cover
Mhm.
photo, your headshot, like, oh my God, it's crazy what just a good headshot will do to just show you as an authority. And some people have these
Mhm.
pictures, you're just like, what are you doing? Like you need to just get a better headshot or in a better cover photo and a good headline, right? And now with Claude and stuff, I mean, you can really dial in some of these things. Good about me, right? Like good descriptions on your roles and good lead
Look like you
magnets, like
care,
right, look like you care. Because again, if you actually want someone to come to you and give you money, then like
Like
you need
millions.
yeah, like millions potentially with your client,
Yeah.
with your audience. It's like
Yes.
then you need to look like you care and give a crap. So I think that
Mhm.
is something that a lot of people also don't pay attention to, is they're really focused on like, okay, like because LinkedIn feels like a lot, and it is a lot, and there's a lot of pieces, but like if you boil it down to like knowing who you're speaking to, optimizing your profile, and then writing content that is dialed into that specific person you're trying to reach, like it will net result. It takes time.
Yeah. What are the biggest mistakes you see out there with people using LinkedIn trying to grow their business on LinkedIn?
I would say the biggest mistake is I would say one of the biggest mistakes right now is people trying to only use AI. and not like,
Mhm.
and they're writing content just like, they kind of talk about their audience a little bit and then, they get prompts and all this kind of stuff and then they start writing their content. And LinkedIn's getting really, really good at sussing out just like vague, generalist, like pointless content. Like you have to be so focused on you and your audience and stories and things that like AI can help build. I mean, like I use AI every single day. I write every single post using AI, but
Mhm.
I reread it, I
Mhm.
rewrite it, I retweak it, everything, make it my own, add my own stories and stuff. But people like times are gone with generic, vague content. And
Yeah.
that is what AI does a really, really good job of, is making generic, vague content, unless you really prompt it with really good stories and insights about you and your audience and the pains they feel. So like
Yep.
generic vague content is out, like personal stories are in, and maybe we'll get into this, but I'll just say it now because I think I forgot on the first conversation to say it. But like if your audience who's listening right now wants to get into LinkedIn, I say there's 3 buckets that everyone should be writing their content. And you should have a mixture of this throughout the week. It's called the GAP framework, GAP. It's growth content. So piggybacking off of stories that are big, right? Give your insight into like Apple and what was news in the headlines, or there was something that happened with Amazon and then tie it into something that like is relevant to you. So there's growth content because that piggybacks off of an already popular story. There's
Mhm.
authority content that is like testimonials, things about your business, things about like what builds you as an authority in that niche. And then there's personal content, right? Share the stories, talk about like being a parent, talk about growing like your business and that kind of stuff. And when you weave in those 3 things throughout the week, that's how LinkedIn is like, okay, I'm starting to figure out like who should I start sending this content to?
That's great. I am missing some growth content, so I'm gonna take that pro tip for myself.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, what you said about the generic, just kind of whatever content, just it does nothing. It's so noisy,
Hmm.
and I think it's because of AI partly because AI gave everyone this opportunity to create content at a level that was really hard to do before and very time consuming.
100%.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said. It's just I almost feel bad for people who are just like showing up and you just literally just scroll. Like you don't give it any sort of anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm such a like my whole thing in my business for advisors is you have to niche because if you don't
Hmm.
niche, you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know what your message is. It's just like if
Hmm.
you go into a room, how can you like have a conversation with someone unless you know who you're looking to talk to?
Right.
And same thing like what we were just talking about with the digital aspect. It's critically important to look like you're a confident, capable professional. And not just that, like that's the bare minimum. Not just that, but if you actually want to use your digital platform to help you and not be a gatekeeper, you need to have this content that you're talking about. And it makes everything easier. The conversions are so easy. I literally have stopped selling entirely because people come to me and I had someone yesterday saw a podcast guest that I had and like a very high quality person was like, "Hey, I am interested in coming on your podcast." I was like, "Great, I didn't even have to do a thing." And that's the difference and I think that's where we're going. Like I just can't imagine building a relational business without those things. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that of I guess we can yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, and it's also interesting too. I mean, like if you were to type in my name, just like Evan Kuterbach on Google, the first thing that comes up is my LinkedIn. My website does not come up in the first like 2, right? And that's like very intentional because it
Yeah.
is beefed up with content and just that is where people will find me. They find me first on LinkedIn and then they find my website and they find like my clients and everything else that I'm building and that kind of stuff later. So like the LinkedIn piece is massive, especially for like your audience. Like your audience is like the people that your audience is trying to reach is on LinkedIn. Like they are all on LinkedIn. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I mean, I think like the relational or like relationship piece too is just so massive with like understanding that even though LinkedIn is like a very professional platform, and I did a post today about like how I think people need to start giving their opinions more on LinkedIn, and that's kind of a
Mhm.
frowned upon thing where people are scared because they feel like they're going to lose followers. And my hook today, I was really proud of, was I was like, if I'm not losing followers each week, then I'm doing something wrong because
Ooh, love
like
it.
I'm totally happy with losing followers because that means that you're probably not my audience and that's okay, right? I am
Yeah.
trying to drill into my audience. And so, but LinkedIn as a whole is a pretty professional platform, but when you actually see the side of LinkedIn that is relationship driven and is like basically like you're at like a conference where you're just like networking and chatting with people, that's the side of LinkedIn that I want people to see, right? Like
It's so good.
my clients that I write for, most of them are in real estate. Most of them are in like different forms, like single family, multifamily, commercial. When you see that side of LinkedIn where it's like actually relationships being built and the purpose of what LinkedIn was supposed to be built for, and not
Mhm.
just like congratulating someone on their AWS certification or like, like some work anniversary, like that's not what LinkedIn is for, right? If you're going to use LinkedIn for that,
Yes.
then don't be on it and don't waste your time. But if you truly want to use it for like bringing leads, bringing booked calls, then like think about it from that sense of like you're at a conference and you're now about to network with people and you're about to share things about yourself. Because if you were at a conference and you just walked into a room and you said like, I love the color blue, some people might be like, I like blue too, but like that, what's the point of that? That's not
They just
helpful.
look at you
And
and be like, "I'm
yeah,
moving
so
on. That
like,
person's weird."
right. But if you actually like were at a conference and you're like, this is what I do, this is who I help, and this is the things that I'm doing, and here's what I'm building, they'd be like, oh, you're an interesting person. I want to get to know you more. That's how you should think
Oh
about
my
LinkedIn.
gosh. I just had a guest on a few weeks ago who is saying the exact same thing that you're saying, but it really like clicked for me where think of LinkedIn like a networking event or a cocktail party. Like what would you say to that person? You'd be so weird and cringe if you walked up to that person and said, "Hey, I have a solution for buyers. Like here's a link to my calendar." That's so cringe. You would
Yeah,
so
it's
it
crazy.
just I love that perspective of seeing it like what you would how you would show up in person, and it's your reputation just online. I'm starting to experience what you're saying about that other side of LinkedIn where the relationship, the networking, like super, super high quality. And it's been really encouraging because I would say it didn't take super long, but I've been really intentional about these things like specific audience, specific content, being consistent. And it doesn't take very long for you to start to experience what we're discussing.
Yeah,
So there's two major objections that I hear about LinkedIn from advisors that I'm working with, and I want to give them to you and hear what you have to say about them.
let's do it.
Okay. So the I'll do them separately because I don't want the information to get jumbled. The first one is a lot of advisors that I work with, they see marketing and or mostly marketing or like digital showing up, digital content as a waste of their time and as something that they just don't want any part in. So they're like, I'm going to hire someone for that. I'm going to offload that, or I'm just not going to do that, period. And then what I see from that decision to outsource without any sort of like ownership or input is it doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't do anything. So it kind of self-fulfills that belief. So I want to hear your thoughts about like if you were me, an advisor said that to you, what would you say to them? And then what is your argument for leaning in and doing it versus not doing it at all?
Yeah. So if someone were to say that, and I've had people say that to me in other professions,
Uh-huh.
like real estate, right? Like someone in real estate who is saying that, I would say the first thing is the one thing that no job, no corporation, no anything can take from you is your personal brand. Like your personal brand is the one thing that like no one can take from you, right? I guess theoretically, if there was like identity theft situation, that could, but like in general, no one can take your personal brand. So at the bare minimum, if you are not going to use like LinkedIn or marketing for like selling a service or, leads and that kind of stuff, then think about it still from like a personal brand. Building a personal brand is always a good thing, especially today. Like it is such a good thing because you never know, again, when you might be able to use that personal brand for some other path, right? Because maybe you're not going to be in this position for forever, right? But you have the personal brand, you've got the audience and the people that like trust you and listen to you and that kind of stuff. So build that personal brand. And the second thing I would say to that is like, especially like if someone was saying like, I don't want to, post on LinkedIn or I don't want to do that. I always tell people like, you need to explore and try different things because like, if you are just, like, if you are happy with where you're at, truly happy with like where your lead flow is or your, all your sales that are coming in or bookings or whatever,
Which
then
most
like
people
fine.
are not.
Which most people are not, like most people are not, then you need to try new things and try things out. And
Mhm.
there's so many resources, there's so many things out there to get you going, to get you started, to like help empower you. So like you really have nothing to lose. And again, I tell people at the bare minimum, you're at least going to be building your personal brand. You're at least going to have your personal brand building. and you're going to start to like kind of like get that audience going of people that are like, oh, hey, like I haven't seen Emily in a while. Like now she's posting more stuff. Like that's pretty cool. I'm getting to learn more about her life and what she's doing and that kind of stuff. Like that is good. That's really, really good. And then to the second question about like just complete outsourcing, like I tell people all the time and not having like an insight into it. If a client comes to me and they say like, hey, a ChatGPT or a Claude subscription's like $50 a month, like why wouldn't I just do that? And I say, do it. Go do it. Go do it for 45 days, 60 days, and come back to me and tell me if it helped and if you got results. If you did, great. Maybe you're a wizard and you know you got all the right prompts and you fed it everything you need to. But as we know with AI or even agencies, like if you're working with an agency and they're outsourcing and they're using AI or whatever, it's all garbage in, garbage out. If you do not have insight,
Yep.
if you do not have, you know, like the ability to feed the machine, right, with your personal stories, with your voice, with your take, it is going to be a waste of time. So it is, and I get it from, you know, from your audience or my audience perspective, it is intimidating to say, okay, like Evan's basically saying like, go all in or don't do it at all. And that is what I'm saying. I'm saying like, don't
Yeah.
just be a scroller on LinkedIn. That's pointless. Either use LinkedIn for what it's used for or don't use it and just like update your job history when you add a new job. But like, don't waste your time because that time could be used for something else then. But if you truly want to go in, then you need to go in and you need to do it right.
That's so good. So for the person listening who's like, okay, I think I want to go all in and start, where would you have them start?
Yeah, I would say the first things first is like get your profile buttoned up. Like number one. And I tell people like there are so many good examples. Like you could just type in a very simple prompt in a Claude or chat and say like, you know, I'm trying to optimize my LinkedIn profile for 2026. I want you to act as a LinkedIn expert. How would you suggest that I improve my LinkedIn profile? And then send screenshots of your LinkedIn profile and then see what it comes back with. Even
Love
that
it.
is a better start.
That's
The
huge.
yeah, the next thing I would say is if you're nervous about content and posting and you know, I'm also not a firm believer that you have to post every day. I do think you need to post like 3 to 5 times a week, but you know, posting content, if you're nervous about that, start engaging on people's stuff, right? And this is something that I remember you and I talked about. It's like, you know, start just engaging on people you find interesting, people that are in your niche, people that are around your niche, people that have an audience that maybe you want to piggyback off of, right? Like, you know, I'll comment on like Alex Catoni stuff just because like I like to like piggyback off that because people that are interested in marketing follow her, right? So I'll piggyback off of that kind of content and I'll comment on those kind of things. That is very easy. It's very like low pressure. You're not having to post content with a picture of you. And that's, you know, that can feel intimidating. So like button up your profile and then start commenting and engaging because again, that wakes up LinkedIn to say, hey, okay, now we got Emily. She's
She's alive
she's
again.
alive again and she's like in the sphere, right? That will help wake up LinkedIn. And then when you do start to post content, now you're going to be even better set up.
Yeah, I was working with a client recently who we just niched his profile, like, and that alone was enough to see better results from any sort of outreach. So, like, I love what you're saying, and I love your tips of how to go about and do this. Anyone can go do that. They can get their profile updated, get it niched to be captivating to their audience and start engaging. I actually really appreciate the LinkedIn algorithm that protects the quality of things. So I think it's really helpful to learn, like what you said earlier, about how the algorithm works. And then my
Totally.
second objection is I work with some advisors, and this is a common one where they'll say, you know, I don't know if my audience is on LinkedIn. So why would
Right.
I put all of my effort into showing up on this profile?
Yeah, it's great. That's a great one. So I was working with a client who their audience that they were trying to reach was doctors, and it was tricky. LinkedIn is tricky for doctors because doctors might be on. They're kind of like in the background, right? They're kind of like on medical pages and stuff, but they're not really like posting content and that kind of stuff. But they're absorbing it. They're absorbing
Yeah.
the content that is there, and for that person, I would say, one, I would ask, like, how do you know that your audience isn't there? I would like try to dig into that and hear them try to like qualify why they think that their audience isn't there. And the second piece I would say is like, especially with LinkedIn, it is not really about like like how many likes you get, or, even the impressions or comments or whatever. Like, it is about, is it achieving what you want it to do, which is like, is it getting you more conversations? Is it getting you more booked leads? So especially for someone who's like a little skeptical about it, like, I mean, I would dig into the audience and make sure that, like, okay, are they actually there? But how are they showing up, right? Like for my doctor client, right? Like, I knew his audience was there, and it was funny because we were getting a ton of profile views, but we weren't getting
Mhm.
likes and comments on posts. But we were getting
They're
profile views.
creepers.
They're creepers, and they were on there and they were scrolling, they were looking, but we were like, okay, they're seeing this stuff. I'm seeing the profile views. I'm seeing who is on there. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to really drill into the audience, and it is possible that like maybe the audience isn't there. I would venture to guess though that most audiences are there. Most audiences are on LinkedIn, especially because the quality, I think this is what I would also tell people, like the quality of lead, the quality of booked call is really, really strong, really high intent to buy and to purchase and to close. It's
And
why
like, what's
LinkedIn,
your other option?
right. It's well, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. Like, response back is, what is your other option? Are you going to go on Facebook? Like, is your audience better on Facebook? Like, I don't know, right? So, but
Right.
the quality of LinkedIn leads, when again you get a good lead, is very high, very strong. We had a post that like did really well for one of my clients a couple days ago, and it only had like 1,500 impressions, but it got 22 profile views and like 10 followers.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's incredible, right? That was so
Yeah.
niched in to this
Yeah.
audience, and I got 22 from just, and I think it only had like 10 likes, but I got 22
Yeah.
profile views, right? So
Yeah.
lurkers, people that won't even like in the post. So yeah, it's just like, I think the quality of LinkedIn when done right is just so good. It's hard to beat. And again, what does it cost you? It costs you a couple hours of your time to get set up and get your profile optimized, and then maybe 30 minutes of your day, maybe.
Yeah. And if you're not doing it, you are falling behind, and you don't
Yes.
want to be wishing you did this a few years from now. You don't.
Totally. And to be honest with you, like, I wish there was, like, sometimes I get frustrated with LinkedIn. I wish there was some other, platform for professional networking, but there's not, right? This is it.
Yeah.
This is the platform. So like, if you are in any way trying to like get some sort of like professional engagement with someone, this is it. Like, there's
Yeah.
no other platform that competes.
This is the networking party that you want to be at. You don't want to be at the Facebook party.
Yes.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
at the Facebook party.
Or the X party. I don't want to be at the X party either.
No. Yeah, we're going to stay at the LinkedIn party.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. This is a better conversation than the first one, I think.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
It is. So last question, and then I want to do some lightning rounds.
Yeah.
I like to ask my guests about their predictions for the next few years. So what is your prediction in the next like 3 to 5 years for LinkedIn, personal branding, social selling, like basically relationship driven selling?
So LinkedIn is leaning heavy into video, like a lot of platforms are. We are about to launch a few LinkedIn Lives, which is basically like a Facebook Live kind of webinar situation for a few clients of mine. I think it's going to be more like a kind of like a TikTok or like an Instagram Reels, where basically like people are posting their videos about like, them at work, or they're doing things and that kind of stuff, but it's only for work, right? It's only work related. And it's not like the personal, like, not showing your dog or something. It's like actually like you showing like you're whiteboarding something, or you're like doing something with work. And so it's more of like a swipe feed in that sense, because they're leaning really hard into
I'm
video.
seeing more of that in my feed
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Same. And so I think it's going to go more into that, which again goes really big into like getting started now, getting your audience dialed in, getting your like everything dialed in, because now, for my clients that already have that dialed in, it's very easy for us to like move into more of that direction and less words on a page content and more video content. But you can't do that unless you have the audience dialed in. So I see that probably moving more in that direction. I'm also like, I'm always looking for kind of not the next thing, but like, is there another platform that kind of comes in, that's more that has professional networking and that kind of stuff? We're seeing Substack grow a ton for authority, like, writers. I have a Substack, but I haven't really done anything with it. I need to, but
Same
Substack
here.
Substack is
Let's
great.
be Substack buddies.
Let's do it. Substack is great for building authority. It's great for building credibility. It's kind of like the growth we're seeing on Substack with some clients is like what some people saw with like Twitter and stuff. When you first started posting, you were just like blowing up. And so I've been, pitching to some of my clients, like maybe we'll start writing on Substack, and maybe LinkedIn will be more of like the video side, and Substack is more of the words on the page content side, right? So I think we're seeing like I think we're seeing that. And then what I also would say is like, I'm also just seeing like people are very educated before they buy. People are very educated before they are making a decision. So it's not really, there's not really like a traditional funnel anymore in marketing, right? It's very like, you need to be omnipresent, right? You need to have like, and that's exhausting, that's tiring, but like, you need to be able to like have different touch points so people can do their due diligence on you, right? Like they'll go to my LinkedIn, then they'll go to my website, then maybe they'll listen to a podcast that I was on, and then they'll message me back on LinkedIn and be like, hey, yeah, I'd love to chat, right? So like, you need to just like not put all your eggs in one basket, right? I mean, I do think you need to diversify outside of LinkedIn too. So whether it's newsletters or, whether it's just having like a basic landing page that just like, your investors, you just drip them every month with just little updates, right? Like capture that data, help people kind of get to know you a little bit more. And then the last thing I would say is like with the rise of AI and people using it more and more, we are like itching for human connection and itching for like really like emotional, personal connection. So like leaning into that is huge in all of the content that you're doing on whatever platform. Like, again, we said it before, like generic vague content is out, personal, emotional, human to human content is in. So
yeah, that's great. I just kind of reactivated my dusty Substack and I'm like, what do I do with this? But I have like a
let's
lot I
chat
want to
about it.
say.
Yeah, let's chat about
Okay.
it.
Yeah, we should. Wow, this was so great. Okay, let's do some fun lightning. Okay, I already know your answer to this because I asked you last time, but it's so good. Best piece of advice you've ever ignored?
Don't leave your 9 to 5. Yeah, I would say that's it.
Don't leave. Have a 6-month emergency fund.
Yep.
Yeah. I ignored that advice as well.
I was called crazy so much.
One tool you can't live without.
Claude. Yeah. In a heartbeat. Claude, I use Claude for everything, agentic stuff. I use it for like vibe coding. I use it for writing. I use Gemini more for research now, but yeah, Claude.
What's a fun, like personal way you're using Claude right now?
Personal way I'm using Claude right now is I'm actually building, and I'll chat with you about this. I'm building a rank and rent business, which basically means I build out a SEO driven business that then I drive leads based off of how I'm getting this page to rank on Google. And then I sell those leads to a small business owner and they don't have to do anything, but I just basically sell those leads to them. So I just built out my first site. I just started getting leads. It's been a fun project I've been working on. So yeah.
Wow. That sounds exciting. I want to hear more. I'm literally asking Claude, like, how do I make my matchas better? I need to get on your level.
I have been doing, I actually did recently. I use Claude really to dive deep into like how to fix my espresso machine. So, because I was like getting like the wrong, like it was all bitter, and I was like, I gotta dial this in.
And it helped you, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Love it. What's entrepreneurship advice you don't subscribe to?
I don't subscribe to the like grind mentality. I think there's like levels of like putting your head down and like busting your butt and like working hard and stuff. But like, again, like what I have realized as an entrepreneur and a solopreneur is it's never enough. Like it's never enough. I could always be doing more. So like you're never going to actually hit that point. So like enjoy life, enjoy like what you're building, enjoy the whole process of this.
Chill for a second.
Yeah, like there's no end game to this. Like the end game is me dying. Like that's it. It's so like this whole like just you have to grind, and then in 10 years you'll look up and you'll have made it. Like that's not true. So
and most of those people who've subscribed to that advice have a lot of regrets. And they're not happy and they don't have a full, well-rounded life.
1,000,000%.
And I think social media has not done entrepreneurs any favors about what it looks like, like especially Instagram. I for sure appreciate that. And I've been trying to like de-influence people around that idea.
Yeah. And the one more thing I'll add to that too is just like, I also don't subscribe to, or I subscribe to the idea of like, don't let the machine start to run you, right? Like you run the machine, right? You built this business, you built this. And if it starts running you and you start like basically being an employee to yourself, if that makes sense, like you're in a bad spot because now you're about to go down the path of where you just left, which was the 9 to 5 in the corporate life, right? So make sure you're running the machine.
Love that. What are you most excited about right now? I bet I could take a guess.
4 weeks.
Baby number 2.
Yeah, we are literally less than 4 weeks away. The countdown is on for baby number 2. So very, very excited about that. Also very excited. I'm taking my daughter for a daddy-daughter Rockies game on Sunday. So we're excited.
Cute. cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Baby number 2 is like your heart's gonna burst open. Like,
I
and then when
honestly,
they play with each other, like,
yeah, that's gonna crush me. That's gonna be, I think, the
yeah,
moment where I'm just like, oh my gosh. And especially I think I told you we're doing a gender surprise. So we have no idea if it's
I
a boy or
know.
girl. So like I'm just excited to like put this being into like reality and call it a name.
Yes. That's so, I mean, I wish I was like a person who could wait to find out. I tried doing that with my second George. I was like,
Oh yeah.
I think I'm gonna wait. And I sat with that for about a day and a half and it about killed me. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be so exciting, that moment. I can't wait to
Yeah.
find out with you. So exciting. Who is someone else I should have on the show?
Yeah. And it's funny because I and you're gonna ask me that again and I'm trying to think.
What, I
You know,
forgot what you said last time too.
honestly, I have someone who's really big into Substack, and I think that could be a really
Ooh.
interesting one to have on, especially because we talked a lot about LinkedIn. And if you had him on for Substack and chat about that, that could also be an approach for maybe some of your audience to do. So,
Ooh, okay. Yeah. And I want to learn more about Substack too.
me too. So maybe I'll just come on as a second
A
guest.
lurker.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lurker.
Dude, I'm down for that. Okay, cool. Well, Evan, thank you so much for coming back and doing this again with me. This was phenomenal. I really appreciate everything you shared with me and with the listeners. I know they're going to get so much out of this, and you've taught me so much about LinkedIn, and I just enjoy being on the same journey as you. So, always a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been great. And honestly, like you said, I think more people need to hear these conversations and more people need to be able to like know like what it's like and what it's not like and just really being in the thick of being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. If this conversation resonated with you or you learned something new, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. And do me a favor, like and subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Comment on anything that you want to see or hear more of in the future as well. You can also stay connected by subscribing to the Wonder Weekly newsletter and connect with me, Emily, on LinkedIn at Emily Armstrong or Instagram, Emily Armstrong 2.0 for more insights on building modern client service firms. Until next time, keep on adapting, modernizing, and growing beyond referrals.